Hello everybody, I am Nut. Welcome to the channel. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. This is part 1 of 6 of the Trading Card Controversies Iceberg. If you are familiar with the way an iceberg video works, go ahead, just skip ahead a few seconds. If not, the basic premise is that all the stuff on the top is generally accepted as common knowledge, whereas as you go a little bit deeper down the iceberg, you get into a little bit more uncharted territories. This may be stuff that's a little bit more controversial or unknown in nature. As mentioned, this is going to be a 6-part series, so be sure that you subscribe. That way you can be up to date when all of these subsequent videos are released. I think I've done enough talking, so let's get to the iceberg. Plenty to cover. We've got 6 layers, 45 different entries, so let's get started. We've got the Logan Paul G.I. Joe case break debacle. January 13th, 2022 finds today's protagonist, Logan Paul, in our headlines once more. This time for something pretty crazy, even by Logan Paul standards. Logan announced via a YouTube vlog that the sealed and authenticated case of first edition Pokemon booster boxes, for which he paid a whopping $3.5 million for, was fake.
No, God! No! God, please, no! No!
The tale of the counterfeits would feature for weeks to come. However, the story behind the sourcing and authentication of the boxes was never covered in quite as much depth. Where did the case originate? Who sold it to Logan? Who authenticated the case? Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Even before Logan was able to physically open the case, many experts had questioned its authenticity. Nobody could see the boxes inside, but there were certain inconsistencies that really painted a bleak picture. The case originally sold via eBay auction on March 29th of 2021. The price, just $72,500. No small sum for cardboard, but just a fraction of what it would go on to sell for just a year and a half later. The seller was transacting on a brand new account and had just 15 completed transactions. The primary cause of concern, however, was the price. Keep in mind that at this time, one single booster box would have gone for at least 6 figures. It's not a stretch to say that this case could have been in excess of $1 million in and of itself, if it turned out to be real, of course. Now here is the major red flag of this story. The buyer actually offered to fly out to pay for the case in person, to which the seller quickly declined, and ultimately the deal fell through. Soon after, it was discovered that the seller had actually provided multiple different accounts of the case's origin to different individuals. He told one person that the case was found in a estate sale and another one that it was a 12th birthday gift. Definitely not looking good for this case. After this initial eBay deal fell through, prominent collector and shop owner Jamil Muhammad agreed to a deal with the original seller. The case was quickly authenticated by Steve Hart of the Baseball Card Exchange before being sold to another prominent collector known as Shine, who purchased the now authenticated case for $2.7 million. It's worth noting that Shine, in addition to being friends with Logan Paul, happens to have one of the most impressive card collections around. Now, just a few weeks after procuring the case from Jamil Muhammad, Shine would later sell it to his buddy Logan for a whopping $3.5 million, which at the time was the largest sum that anyone had ever paid for any Pokemon product. It's unfortunate that it obviously wound up being non-authentic, but we will get into that a bit later. Now, Logan, the staff of the Baseball Card Exchange, who had authenticated the case, and Shine, who obviously again had sold the case to Logan, decided that this was a get-together to open the case worthy of an entertaining vlog, and they certainly were correct.
Why are they so puffy? Why are they so puffy, though? See how they're shaped all?
They don't look right.
Dude. Motherfucker. It's f***ing fake, bro. It's f***ing fake.
Now, upon opening the outer case, it was very clear that these boxes were fake. You can hear in the video someone notes that they were puffy, the wrap is completely off, and it's almost kind of a little awkward to watch Steve Hart kind of squirm as this box is open, because you can almost see him realizing real time that these boxes were not authentic. And it just makes this watch all that more awkward, but that is besides the point. So it's not like someone had taken all the good cards out of this box and just put, all the base cards back and resealed this box. It's not like these were fake Pokemon cards altogether, which might even have been better. These were not Pokemon cards at all. They were G.I. Joe cards. After finding out that the cards that he had just spent $3.5 million on were essentially not worth the paper that they were printed on, I've got to say Logan handled himself quite well. That being said, his buddy Shine did refund him the $3.5 million that he had paid for the case, but he did have to fight for quite some time to get even a portion back of the money that he initially paid to Jamil Muhammad. So yeah, this case drug out for a while. You probably saw it in the headlines for quite some time. And it just goes to show, the risks and challenges involved in the world of high-stakes card collecting when you're buying and selling expensive stuff like this, where, the experts are few and far between, and really one person's word can just count so much and so much more than it really should. We'll get a little bit more into that with the baseball card exchange a little bit further down this iceberg, but here is the second of our entries. Next up is the Backyard Breaks Trevor Lawrence Gold Kaboom Heist. Definitely buckle up for this one because it gets a little bit crazy. Now, if you have never seen or heard of Backyard Breaks, consider yourself lucky. Your eyes, but most importantly your ears, have yet to be tainted.
Scary Terry Zebra! Rookie! No way! Rookie Zebra! No way! Oh my God! No way! Oh, yeah.
What the heck?
Before we chat about what they did, let's chat a little bit about them because they're going to feature on this iceberg a few times. While the cast is constantly changing, the main characters of today's story are Grant Telford and Nikki Rips. And yes, I feel like a real loser even saying that. Grant and Nick probably have one of the coolest jobs on the planet. They sit in a small room for hours on end, opening boxes of collectible cards for the enjoyment of others. Admittedly, it does sound a bit less cool when I say it like that, but Nick and Grant are breakers. Now, the next entry on the iceberg actually contains a pretty complete overview of the breaking process, so hold all your questions on that until later, but, just keep in mind my, the image that I put in your head. It's pretty much what these guys do on a daily basis, and it actually sounds pretty awesome. Alrighty, now that we've got that breaking disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about the second part of this entry. That is the Gold Kaboom debacle. Now, one night while breaking, Grant and Nick decided out of the goodness of their generous hearts that they were going to give away an entire hobby box of, at the time, newly released 2021 Panini Absolute Football. The major draw to this product are the extremely valuable Kaboom inserts. And this box being given away just so happened to have one of the best Kaboom cards that you could possibly pull out of the entire product encompassed within.
LeVar Arrington, don't look. This is for free. Out of 49, we have a gold Kaboom. We have a gold Kaboom for free. This is a minimum 2,000. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
Now, after pulling this incredibly rare card, the fellows were naturally curious as to how much it could be worth. At the time, other gold Kabooms were selling around $10,000, and Trevor Lawrence is generally regarded out of the 2021 draft class as the rookie to hit, so they had estimated the card could be worth anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. Now, here's a pop quiz. What do you think these gentlemen did next? A. Immediately sent the card to the rightful giveaway winner. B. Proposed purchasing the card from the winner for a fair market value. Or C. Concocted the most rock-headed ploy possible to keep the card. No surprises, just look at these guys. The correct answer is C. Now, pretty quickly, Nikki and Grant decide live on stream that they will not be giving away the card after all. The justification behind keeping it is that they made the giveaway guidelines not specific enough. Now keep in mind, these are giveaway guidelines that they themselves set prior to the giveaway. So I told you guys that this was a rock-headed ploy. Now, unfortunately, the giveaway winner never received this card. Backyard Breaks did go on to donate $20,000 to the Boys and Girls Club of America. This is kind of, consolation prize. They knew they had been caught doing something bad, so they decided that they were going to donate some money, is, kind of the way it seems. And unfortunately, they only grew in popularity after this whole debacle. So it, it makes you wonder. Next up, we've got breakers stealing cards. Now, in order to effectively explain this one, I'm going to have to kind of explain what a break is. So if you're familiar with the term and the process, go ahead and skip ahead about 30 seconds. If not, here is your 101 into card breaking. card breaking is the act of taking a box, such as a hobby box or a case of boxes, and basically splitting it up so that collectors can purchase slots within this break. As a Ravens fan, I might just want to purchase the Ravens so that I only get Ravens cards. The major drawback is obviously if no Ravens cards are pulled or no cards of any, value are pulled, I might be left a little bit unhappy, but this is, the risk that goes along with breaking. So that is Breaking 101. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into some of the most famous examples of breakers stealing cards. Many millennia from now, when anthropologists look back on human history and they inevitably discover the phenomenon known as card breaking, they will certainly have to point at a time when the first known example of a card breaker happened to steal a card. That is the clip that you are about to see now in front of you, the Brandon Cooks /99 incident. It is truly the first example of a breaker stealing a card, and it really paved the way for future breakers to steal cards to their heart's content.
We have number to 99, Mr. Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, number to 99. Brandon Cooks, number to 99. Sorry guys, was having to answer an email right quick. Number 2.
Next up, we've got Platinum Card Breaks, and just like our friends over at Backyard Breaks, this will not be the last time that you're seeing these guys on the Iceberg.
Wait till I'm done with these last 2 boxes, Austin.
37's back in the store, Steve.
Aus.
Yes.
Me, just so you know, me and
A few moments later.
J Far. What up, J Far? You
There was a
next
redemption stuck in the backup in the one mini box.
Was there? Yo, Us! Bring that box back! The garbage, quick! Nothing in this one. Wow, you were right! There it is! NFL gear combo, Justin Fields! Who got that? Mayor! Who said that there was one in the box?
Jordan.
Jordan, look at that! You just saved Clay Mayer a nice hit. Congrats, bro. Thanks, Austin. Sorry about that, bud.
Next up, we've got the Retail Kings with one of the most poorly executed breaker thefts of all time.
Yes, sir. We are the Retail King over here on this side. You already know we are the Retail Kings on this side. Jesus Christ. No way.
And Retail Kings are going to be today's runner-up because the prize for the worst and the sloppiest attempted breaker theft of all time is going to have to go to Southwest Sports Cards with the following clip.
So, sorry guys, I got someone at my door here. Hang on. Okay, they went away. I think it's that green is just a lower count because that card's only out of 49, Dion. Just letting you know. That's a nice hit.
Unfortunately, as card breaking has gotten exponentially more popular over the past few years, the prevalence of those such as the individuals in this list have increased as well. So as always, break with those that you trust, those that have been around for a while, and keep your eyes out for red flags such as excessively low prices or any questionable handlings of the cards or questionable practices. If it sounds or looks too good to be true, it more than likely is, so keep that in mind. Next up, we've got fake cards. Now, we won't be discussing any fake autographs or fake PSA or other graded slabs in this segment. Those will have their own categories a little bit later in the list. Fake cards are essentially counterfeit versions of original trading cards that are designed to look just like the real thing. They're obviously made to deceive collectors into thinking that they have an authentic card when in reality they do not. Not all fake cards are created equal, and they range from simple forgeries to far more sophisticated cards that are almost indistinguishable from the real thing. It's not hard to see where one might get the motivation to dedicate a little craft time to their day and whip up one of these fake cards. Take a look at this 100% real graded example of a T206 Honus Wagner. This card recently sold for a whopping $7.25 million, which is a whopping sum of money for literally anything, especially what is ostensibly just a piece of cardboard, but that's beside the point. You got to think that anyone that might see this news and go out looking on eBay, on any number of these apps, at their local flea market, might come across this card and think that they have the score of a lifetime, but they don't have a card that's worth the paper it's printed on. Now, there are a few general ways to tell a fake card from a real one. Traditionally, that has been the card stock, the printing method, the printing quality, the corners, the edges, all that good stuff. When you examine it up close, a lot of times it's just not up to the same quality as a real card. It's very easy to tell, flimsier card stock, the printing is a lot blurrier, sometimes the colors are just off. These counterfeiters don't have the same technology at their disposal as a Panini, a Topps, a Pokemon, so they can't get as crisp of an image, they can't get as crisp of a cut on the edge. So all that makes it pretty easy to tell a fake card from a real one if one ever comes across your desk. It's not like sneakers, watches, streetwear, where some of these fakes are a lot harder to distinguish from the real thing. Luckily, knock on wood, cards, like said to this point, have been pretty safe from the counterfeits. There's been a few instances that we'll talk about a little bit later in the Iceberg that have fooled some collectors, but here is a list just for fun, just threw this in here, of the top 10 most counterfeited sports cards, and then the top 10 most counterfeited gaming cards. So, have a look at, do a little research. You might own one or two of these cards. You might have had one of these counterfeit cards as a child. I know I definitely did for at least one or two of these Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon cards. But just, really interesting subject for sure, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later in the Iceberg. Next up is Panini Points. Panini Points are essentially a digital currency or credit that can be used to redeem certain cards or other items via Panini's online redemption system. So the way to actually go about attaining Panini Points, of course you can buy them on eBay, one of these other marketplaces, but you actually pull these guys from the packs themselves. They take the place of an autograph or memorabilia card. So you can imagine that people probably aren't going to be too happy when they open their packs only to find one of these guys. Naturally, people want to see the cards. They don't want an IOU from a company that is notoriously bad at fulfilling them. And that brings us to our second point, which is the Panini Online Redemption System. The main gripe with the Panini redemption system is going to be the wait times. And trust me, there were many. Honestly, it wasn't hard to pick this one, though. Collectors have found themselves waiting months and sometimes even years to have these orders fulfilled via the Panini redemption system. This is not only cards that people pull out of redemptions, which we will talk about a little bit later in the Iceberg, but the actual packs and cards that are being purchased off of the redemption center. So, the whole redemption sector at Panini is just a mess and just seriously needs a major overhaul. But despite all of this, Panini Points are pretty popular because they are a way for collectors to acquire certain limited packs or cards that may not be released otherwise.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
One example of this is going to be your white sparkle packs. These are only available via Panini's online redemption system, and they have the super limited edition white sparkle prisms. You can also find the cosmic packs, which are the same deal. It's 3 cards coming out of these packs. They're only available on this online website and only if you have enough points. So you can imagine that some of these cards definitely fetch a pretty penny. That is the Panini Points 101. Sticker autographs. Just like the last entry, Panini Points will be a bit brief with this one. A sticker autograph is a type of autographed card that is issued by Topps or Panini that has, instead of an on-card autograph where the player or persona has actually signed the card itself, they have signed a sticker that has then been transplanted to the card. Sticker autographs are generally considered a little bit less valuable than their on-card brethren, just because, it is pretty interesting to think that with an on-card autograph, the signer actually took the card and signed it themselves. But the stickers are a really smart tactic from Panini and Topps because they allow them to gather up a whole bunch of autographs all at once. Ultimately, the final value of a card does come down to a number of factors, not just the autograph, but this one's really just a matter of personal preference. Here we've got flippers, and definitely take your seat for this one because it's going to get juicy for sure. A flipper is someone that the hobby refers to as buying up large quantities of limited cards or retail products to quickly resell them at a higher price. In a day and age where hobby box prices are as expensive as they've ever been, these retail products that you might find at your local Walmart or Target can provide families, children, and even 24-year-olds an opportunity to open cards far more efficiently and for far less money. Another argument against flipping is that it makes it extremely difficult for collectors to actually obtain the cards that they want at reasonable prices because they actually have to pull them from the boxes that are now, 2, 3, 4 times what they were a few months ago, or they have to purchase them off a secondary market where a card may have an inflated price tag. Additionally, a lot of times flipping promotes these cultures of hoarding and speculation rather than a focus and an actual enjoyment on the cards themselves. On the other hand, many would argue that flippers are a necessary part of any free market as they actually help the industry as a whole by showing manufacturers where the most resources need to be allocated. Ultimately, the controversy around flippers is just a matter of perspective, but whether or not you see these guys as a hindrance to the actual accessibility of the hobby or just a necessary evil, there's no denying that these videos of grown men throwing tantrums in Walmarts and Targets no doubt are a massive self-esteem and dopamine boost to your day. So as long as these guys aren't causing too much trouble for anyone else in the hobby, I'd say, let them be. But we'll talk about a few specific instances where these flippers may have found themselves in a little bit of hot water a little bit later down the iceberg. All right, we've got a really interesting one up next, banned Pokemon cards. Believe it or not, there is actually an entire game around the Pokemon card game. I know, interesting, right? Within this game, certain cards are banned for being too overpowered. However, there is an entirely different subset of cards that are banned for a whole bunch of different odd reasons, so let's chat about a few. Blank's Pikachu. This card had a move called Birthday Surprise that, if it were the trainer's birthday, upon using the card, they would gain an extra 50 damage to their main attack. You can probably see where this one's going. Tournament regulators required players using this card to bring extra documentation to any tournament they planned on using it in to prove that it was indeed their birthday. So quickly this card was added to the list as it just became more of a hassle than it was worth. Next up is Ancient Mew, and one look at this card is all it takes to see why it was banned from competitive play. It is made up of literally nothing but unintelligible symbols and runes. Finally, we've got the Neo Genesis Slowking. This card had a rather unique ability where if it were the active card in your party, you could flip a coin. If this coin were heads, it would allow you to nullify your opponent's unique ability. This is a pretty nifty leg up in the combat. Now, conversely, when this card got translated to English, the part about it having to be the active card in your party got completely left out, and it no longer had to be such in order for you to use this ability. You can probably see where this is going, and people would literally stack their bench with nothing but this card so that they could continue to nullify their opponent turn after turn, so quickly this card was added to the list too. It's not hard to see why these cards were banned from competitive use, but there's a whole nother subset of cards that were actually banned from certain countries or had to be redesigned before they were fully allowed to be released. Let's take a look at some of these cards and see if you might be able to guess the reason for the censorship. We have reached the bottom of layer 1. This is the final entry. We are looking at Pokemon packs that have been weighed. Because different cards, mainly those holographic cards found in the original Pokemon sets, have different weights, it is possible with a sensitive enough scale to weigh Pokemon packs to tell which ones do contain more valuable cards. It's certainly not difficult to see why there's a bit of controversy surrounding this topic. When buying loose packs is already extremely risky, and the risk of the packs being weighed is only amplifying that risk, collectors want to be sure that what they're purchasing is authentic and hasn't been tampered with, and a lot of times with loose packs it's just very difficult to do that. Unfortunately, weighed and resealed Pokemon packs are still a massive problem in the community. Look no further than the first entry of this Iceberg. Alrighty everyone, that is going to conclude part 1 of what will eventually be a 6-part series on this Iceberg. I want to thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe so that you guys can stay up to date with any of the other parts that I'll be dropping. But for now, I am going to take a nap.